Welcome to Sleepy Stories. In this episode, we will take a clear and steady look at why the universe often feels calm. The aim is simple: to help you learn something real and grounded about the world beyond Earth, while allowing your body and mind to slow down. If sleep does not come immediately, that is completely fine. You can still listen, absorb a few quiet scientific ideas, and let them settle naturally. If you enjoy this kind of calm explanation, you are invited to like and subscribe so these stories can continue to be part of your evenings. For now, there is nothing you need to do. Simply listen, let your breathing slow, and allow the information to arrive at its own pace. When people think about the universe, they often imagine explosions, collisions, and unimaginable power. Stars burn with immense energy, galaxies move at incredible speeds. The universe itself began in an extremely hot and dense state. And yet, when you look up at the night sky, what you usually feel is not chaos. You feel quiet, stillness, a sense that everything is slow, distant, and steady. This feeling is not an illusion created by human emotion. It is rooted in physical reality. The universe feels calm because calm is what remains when scale becomes vast. On human scales, energy is intense because it is concentrated. A fire feels hot because its energy is confined to a small space. A storm feels violent because pressure differences are compressed into a narrow region of atmosphere. In the universe, energy is rarely concentrated like this. It is spread across distances so large that even enormous events become gentle by the time their effects arrive. Distance is one of the most important reasons the universe feels quiet. When energy is released, it does not travel as a solid wave. It spreads outward in all directions. With every step outward, that energy is divided over more space. The farther it travels, the weaker it becomes. A supernova can outshine an entire galaxy at its source. But across millions of light years, that same event reaches us as a faint glow, barely brighter than the background of space. Power has not disappeared. It has been diluted by scale. Time plays an equally important role. Human life is shaped by short intervals: seconds, minutes, years. On these timescales, change feels urgent. In the universe, most meaningful change unfolds over millions or billions of years. Stars evolve slowly. Galaxies rearrange themselves gradually. Even processes that involve tremendous forces do so with patience rather than urgency. When change is slow enough, it feels like stillness. There is also the simple fact that space does not transmit sound. Sound requires matter to carry vibrations. Space contains so little matter that vibrations cannot travel far. Even the most violent cosmic events unfold in complete silence. No shockwave reaches your ears. No roar follows a collision. What remains is visual information arriving quietly as light, sometimes after a journey longer than the entire history of humanity. The calmness of the universe is not the absence of activity. It is the result of activity operating under conditions that favor smoothness over disruption. Gravity shapes motion into stable paths. Energy spreads instead of piling up. Expansion pulls systems apart, reducing interaction rather than increasing it. These are not poetic ideas. They are measurable properties of physical law. As this story unfolds, each part will explore one reason why calm dominates cosmic experience, not because the universe lacks power, but because power behaves differently when space is vast and time is deep. The stillness you feel when you look into the night sky is not misleading you. It is showing you the universe as it truly is. Not loud and frantic, but spacious, patient, and steady. We will move slowly from here, examining each of these ideas with care, allowing understanding to build without pressure. For now, simply remain with the sense that calm is not something added to the universe. It is what naturally emerges when everything has room to exist. One of the strongest reasons the universe feels calm is silence. Not the emotional kind of silence people associate with peace, but physical silence. Sound, as it exists in daily life, depends on matter. It requires air, water, or solid material to carry vibrations from one place to another. A voice moves air, a drum moves molecules. Without a medium, sound cannot travel. Space contains almost no matter. Between stars and galaxies, particles are so sparse that vibrations cannot pass from one to the next. Even when enormous amounts of energy are released, there is nothing there to carry a shock wave. No compression of air, no ripple of pressure. The result is complete silence, not because nothing happens, but because nothing can vibrate in a connected way. This absence of sound has a powerful effect on perception. On Earth, sound is often the first signal of danger or urgency. Sudden noise triggers attention. Loud environments feel active, even aggressive. In space, that entire layer of sensation is missing. Events unfold without announcement. Collisions happen without impact noise. Explosions occur without a roar. What reaches us is only light, arriving quietly and steadily. Light behaves very differently from sound. It does not require matter to travel. It moves through empty space at a fixed speed, carrying information without force or pressure. When light reaches your eyes, it does not push or strike. It simply arrives. Even the light from the most energetic events in the universe arrives gently, one photon at a time, spread out across enormous distances. This is why images of space feel serene rather than overwhelming. Nebulae glow softly, galaxies appear as faint smudges, stars shine steadily rather than flicker violently. The energy involved in creating these sights is immense, but by the time it reaches you, it has been filtered by distance and silence. Silence also removes immediacy. On Earth, sound tells you something is happening now. A crash is present. A shout is urgent. In space, information is delayed. Light from distant objects may have been traveling for millions or billions of years before it arrives. What you see is not what is happening now. It is a record of what once happened, long ago. This delay strips events of urgency. The universe does not rush toward you. It reveals itself slowly. There is another subtle effect of silence. Without sound, motion becomes harder to sense. An object can move at tremendous speed, but without friction or vibration, that motion feels smooth and uneventful. Space allows movement without disturbance. Planets orbit, stars drift, galaxies rotate. None of it produces noise. None of it announces itself. Silence also means there is no constant background stimulation. On Earth, even quiet places contain sound, wind, insects, distant movement. Space has none of this. The absence of background noise creates an impression of stillness that persists even when activity is present. The universe does not hum or buzz. It simply exists. This physical silence is not fragile. It is stable. It has existed for billions of years and will continue for billions more. Nothing in the structure of space encourages sound to return. Even as the universe evolves, silence remains its default condition. Understanding this changes how calm is interpreted. Calm is not the result of emptiness or inactivity. It is the result of conditions that prevent disturbance from spreading. Space does not amplify events. It absorbs them. Energy moves through it quietly, without shock or vibration. As you continue listening, it may help to notice how silence shapes attention. Without noise, the mind does not brace itself. It does not prepare for impact. It simply observes. The universe feels calm because it offers no sensory urgency, no sudden signals demanding response. Silence is not a lack. It is a property. And in the universe, it is one of the most powerful reasons everything feels slow, distant, and at rest. Distance is one of the universe's most effective calming forces. It does not remove energy or erase events. It changes how they are experienced. When something energetic happens in space, the energy does not travel as a single, concentrated wave. It spreads outward in every direction, thinning as it goes. With each increase in distance, the same amount of energy is shared across a larger area. What begins as overwhelming intensity slowly becomes something gentle and faint. This spreading effect is fundamental to how the universe works. Imagine a powerful event at its source, a massive release of light, particles, and radiation. Close to that source, conditions are extreme. Temperatures are high, forces are violent. but the universe is large enough that very little remains close to where it began. Almost all of that energy immediately starts moving away, dissolving into the surrounding space. By the time such energy reaches Earth, if it reaches Earth at all, it has usually traveled for enormous lengths of time. During that journey, it has expanded outward, losing intensity at every step. What arrives is often so weak that it blends into the background of space. Instruments must be carefully tuned to detect it. Human senses rarely notice it at all. This is why even the most dramatic cosmic events do not feel threatening. Supernovae, gamma-ray bursts, and galactic collisions sound violent when described, but distance transforms them. Their danger is local, confined to regions close to where they occur. Beyond those regions, their influence fades rapidly. The universe protects itself, and everything within it, by being large. Distance also separates events from one another. On Earth, energy often builds up because environments are dense. Heat accumulates, pressure increases, motion collides with motion. In space, density is low. Events are isolated. One explosion does not trigger another nearby. One collapse does not cascade outward endlessly. Space provides room for energy to dissipate rather than compound. There is a psychological effect to this as well. When events are far away, they feel abstract. The mind does not respond with urgency. Distance removes immediacy. Even when we know that something powerful has happened, it feels contained, resolved, finished, long before it reaches us. The universe does not confront us with its violence. It keeps it at a respectful distance. Distance also introduces delay. Light and other signals take time to travel. The farther away an event is, the older it becomes by the time it is observed. What we see in the sky often happened long before Earth was as it is now. This delay further softens perception. Events are not unfolding in front of us. They are echoes, arriving calmly from the past. Because of this, the universe rarely feels reactive. Nothing rushes toward us. Nothing demands attention. Signals arrive slowly, weakened by space and time. Even motion itself appears smooth. Objects drift rather than rush. Change feels gradual, almost hesitant. The calming role of distance is not accidental. It is built into the geometry of space. The universe is not crowded. It is spacious beyond ordinary understanding. That space acts as a buffer, ensuring that energy spreads out rather than piles up, that events remain local rather than universal. Calm, in this sense, is not the absence of power. It is power given room. The universe feels gentle because it allows energy to move freely without forcing it into close contact. Distance is not emptiness. It is structure, and it is one of the quiet reasons the universe feels as calm as it does. Light is the main way the universe communicates. It carries information across space without pressure, without force, and without urgency. This alone shapes how calm the universe feels. Light does not arrive all at once. It arrives gradually, spread thinly across time and distance, softening even the most violent origins. Every point of light in the sky began somewhere extreme. Inside stars, temperatures reach millions of degrees. In collapsing clouds, gravity crushes matter with immense force. In energetic events, radiation is released in vast quantities. Yet none of this arrives as intensity. What reaches Earth is a faint signal, diluted by the long journey it has taken. As light travels, it spreads outward. The same energy that once occupied a small region expands across an ever-growing sphere of space. With distance, brightness fades. What was once blinding becomes barely visible. This is not loss, it is distribution. The universe does not hide its activity. It reveals it slowly, gently, and without pressure. There is also the effect of time. Light does not travel instantly. It moves at a fixed speed, and over cosmic distances, that speed introduces enormous delay. Much of the light you see tonight began its journey before humans existed. Some of it left its source before Earth formed. By the time it arrives, whatever produced it may have changed completely or ceased to exist. The universe does not present events as they happen. It offers records, long after urgency has passed. This delay removes any sense of immediacy. On Earth, light usually accompanies sound and motion. A flash is followed by a bang. In space, light arrives alone. No shockwave follows. No vibration reinforces the event. The mind receives information without being asked to react. Observation replaces response. Light also arrives steadily. Photons do not come as a single surge. They arrive one by one, spread across time. Even intense radiation, when observed from afar, becomes a continuous, gentle flow. Instruments collect it patiently. Eyes receive it quietly. Nothing forces attention. Nothing demands action. This is why the night sky feels stable. Stars shine with consistent brightness. Galaxies glow softly. Nebulae appear motionless. The processes behind these sights are dynamic, but light presents them in their most settled form. What changes rapidly near the source changes imperceptibly by the time it reaches us. There is another subtle, calming effect. Light carries no mass and exerts almost no force. It informs without disturbing. It touches without pushing. This allows the universe to be observed without being felt. You can look deep into space without anything reaching back toward you. Because of this, the universe feels distant in a reassuring way. It is visible but not intrusive, active but not demanding. Light acts as a translator, converting extreme physical conditions into calm visual information. It strips away violence and leaves behind structure. As you look deeper into space, you are not moving closer to danger. You are moving further into the past, into softened echoes of events long resolved. Light ensures that what arrives is already quiet. This gentle arrival of information is one of the clearest reasons the universe feels calm. Not because nothing happens, but because everything arrives after it has had time to settle. Time in the universe moves at a pace that is very different from time in human life. This difference shapes almost everything about how the universe feels. On Earth, change is often immediate. Day turns to night. Weather shifts within hours. A single year can bring noticeable transformation. Because of this, the human mind is tuned to expect movement and response on short timescales. The universe does not operate this way. Most cosmic processes unfold slowly, with a patience that is difficult to imagine. Stars do not flare into existence and vanish within moments. They form over millions of years, burn steadily for billions, and fade gradually. Galaxies take even longer to change their structure. Their shapes remain recognizable across spans of time longer than the entire history of life on Earth. When change is stretched across such enormous durations, it no longer feels like motion, it feels like stillness. This slow pace removes urgency. Nothing in the universe appears to rush. Even when forces are strong, they act gently because they act consistently. Gravity pulls steadily, not suddenly. Expansion proceeds smoothly, not in jumps. Energy disperses gradually, not in bursts. The universe rarely demands attention because it does not behave in ways that require immediate response. Time also separates cause from effect. On human scales, actions often produce quick results. In the universe, consequences may unfold long after their causes. A cloud of gas begins to collapse, but a star does not ignite until much later. A star begins to exhaust its fuel, but its final transformation may not occur for millions of years. This delay removes drama. There is no sudden turning point that demands focus. Everything transitions slowly. Because of this, cosmic events often feel resolved even when they are ongoing. When you observe a star, you are seeing a process that has been stable for longer than any human civilization. There is no sense that something is about to happen. The system has already found its rhythm, and that rhythm is steady. The long timescales of the universe also mean that extremes are rare. Conditions do not swing rapidly from one state to another. Temperatures change slowly. Structures evolve gradually. The universe avoids sharp contrasts, not because it lacks energy, but because energy has time to spread and settle. Time acts as a buffer, smoothing out differences and allowing systems to reach balance. This smoothing effect extends to perception. When change is too slow to notice, the mind interprets it as absence of change. A mountain feels permanent because it erodes slowly. A star feels eternal because it evolves slowly. The universe feels calm because its most important changes unfold beyond the scale of attention. Time also provides distance. Just as space separates events physically, time separates them experientially. When something happened long ago, it feels less threatening, less urgent. The universe presents itself as ancient and settled, not immediate or reactive. This ancient quality contributes strongly to the sense of calm. Even the beginning of the universe, which involved extreme conditions, quickly transitioned into slower processes. As expansion progressed, density dropped, temperatures fell, and interactions weakened. The universe did not remain in a state of constant upheaval. It moved toward steadiness early, and has remained there ever since. Calm, then, is not just about what is happening, but about how long it takes to happen. The universe operates on timescales so large that motion becomes gentle, change becomes subtle, and energy has time to distribute itself evenly. In this way, time itself becomes a calming force. It stretches events until they lose sharpness. It allows systems to settle into long-lasting patterns. The universe feels calm because it has had the time to become so. Stars appear calm from a distance, and this calmness is one of the most convincing illusions in the universe. Inside a star, conditions are extreme. Matter is compressed to enormous densities. Temperatures rise to millions of degrees. Nuclear reactions release vast amounts of energy every second. Yet none of this chaos escapes in a disruptive way. What reaches space is steady light and gentle heat, delivered with remarkable consistency. The reason for this lies in balance. A star exists because two powerful forces oppose each other without either winning. Gravity pulls inward, trying to compress the star further. Energy produced in the core pushes outward, trying to expand it. When these forces are evenly matched, the star becomes stable. It neither collapses nor explodes. It simply continues. This balance can last for billions of years. During that time, the star changes very slowly. Its brightness remains nearly constant. Its size stays within a narrow range. From the outside, it feels dependable, almost timeless. The violence inside does not translate into visible disturbance because the system is regulated by physical law. This regulation removes unpredictability. On Earth, intense processes often lead to instability. Pressure builds until something gives way. Energy accumulates until it escapes suddenly. In stars, energy is released continuously rather than stored. It flows outward at a controlled rate, guided by the structure of the star itself. Nothing piles up enough to cause constant disruption. Distance reinforces this effect. Even if a star's output fluctuates slightly, those variations are smoothed by the journey through space. By the time light reaches Earth, small changes have blended into a steady signal. What remains is constancy rather than motion. Stars also evolve slowly. As they age, their internal processes shift, but these changes take immense amounts of time. A star does not suddenly become brighter or dimmer in a way that feels urgent. Its life unfolds on timescales that dwarf human experience. From one generation to the next, stars appear unchanged, reinforcing the sense that the universe is settled and calm. There is also the absence of friction. In space, stars do not scrape against their surroundings. They move through near emptiness. Without resistance, their motion is smooth and uninterrupted. Orbits remain stable. Paths repeat predictably. Motion without friction does not create disturbance. It creates continuity. The calm appearance of stars is therefore not deceptive. It is accurate, given the scale involved. Intense activity exists, but it is contained, regulated, and stretched across time. The star is not struggling. It is maintaining equilibrium. This idea extends beyond individual stars. Groups of stars behave similarly. They follow stable paths determined by gravity. They do not collide frequently. They do not change direction abruptly. The larger the system, the more likely it is to settle into predictable motion. Stability increases with scale. This is one of the most important principles of the universe. Extreme forces do not necessarily lead to extreme behavior. When forces are balanced and given enough space and time, they produce steadiness. Calm is not fragile. It is the outcome of strong systems working in harmony. When you look at a star, you are not witnessing tension or danger. You are seeing a system that has already resolved its internal conflict. The star has found a configuration that allows it to exist peacefully for a very long time. Its light does not signal urgency, it signals balance. This is why the sky feels reassuring. The points of light above are not fleeting sparks. They are long-lasting sources of steady energy. Their presence reinforces the idea that the universe favors endurance over disruption. Calm, here, is not the absence of force. It is the presence of control. And stars, perhaps more than any other objects, demonstrate how immense power can exist quietly when it is balanced by equally immense restraint. When individual stars gather into galaxies, the sense of calm becomes even stronger. A galaxy contains billions, sometimes trillions, of stars, each moving at high speed through space. Yet when viewed as a whole, a galaxy appears serene, almost motionless. Its shape remains stable, its structure holds. Spiral arms curve gently, elliptical forms remain smooth and balanced. This calm is not accidental. It is the natural result of gravity organizing motion over long periods of time. Inside a galaxy, stars do not move randomly. Each one follows a path shaped by the combined gravitational influence of all the others. Over time, chaotic motion is smoothed out. Unstable paths disappear. What remains are orbits that repeat predictably. Motion becomes regular rather than erratic. Even though speeds can be enormous, the pattern of movement changes very little. This is one of the most important ways the universe creates calm. Gravity does not simply pull things together. It filters motion. It removes excess energy and irregular paths, guiding matter into configurations that can persist. In dense environments, this process happens more quickly. In the vastness of space, it happens slowly, but the result is the same. Order emerges. Galaxies also benefit from isolation. The distances between them are immense. Encounters are rare. Collisions, when they occur, unfold over hundreds of millions of years. Even dramatic galactic mergers appear gentle when stretched across such long timescales. Stars rarely collide directly. Most pass by one another without contact. What might seem violent in description becomes smooth and gradual in reality. Within galaxies, there is also a lack of friction. Stars move through near emptiness. There is nothing to slow them suddenly or force abrupt change. Without resistance, motion does not create disturbance. It simply continues. This uninterrupted movement contributes strongly to the impression of calm. The structure of a galaxy is also self-correcting. If a star drifts slightly inward or outward, gravitational forces adjust its path. Extremes are softened. Stable configurations are reinforced. Over time, the galaxy settles into a form that resists disruption. Calm is maintained not by stillness, but by balance. From Earth, this stability is especially noticeable. Across a human lifetime, galaxies appear unchanged. Their shapes remain constant. Their positions shift only slightly. Even across recorded history, the night sky has looked essentially the same. This visual continuity strengthens the emotional sense that the universe is steady and reliable. There is also the scale of time to consider. Galaxies are ancient structures. Many formed billions of years ago and have persisted ever since. Their long existence suggests that they occupy configurations that work. Instability does not last long on cosmic scales. Systems that cannot maintain balance, dissolve, or transform. What remains is what can endure. This endurance creates a background of calm against which rare events stand out. Supernovae, starbursts, and active galactic centers do occur, but they are localized and temporary. They do not disrupt the entire system. The galaxy absorbs them, redistributing energy until balance returns. The larger the structure, the more pronounced this effect becomes. On the scale of galaxy clusters and beyond, motion becomes even smoother. Changes take longer, interactions become rarer. Calm deepens with scale. Galaxies show that complexity does not require chaos. Billions of moving parts can exist together without constant disruption if they are guided by stable forces and given enough space. The universe does not fight against order, it produces it naturally. When you imagine a galaxy, it may help to think of it not as a crowded system in motion, but as a slow, enduring pattern. Each star follows its path quietly. Each orbit repeats patiently. Together, they create a structure that feels settled and complete. This is why looking into deep space does not feel overwhelming. The largest systems the universe creates are also its calmest. Their motion is not urgent, their change is not abrupt. They exist in a state of long-term balance, shaped by gravity and time. Calm, at this scale, is not fragile. It is reinforced by size, age, and structure, and galaxies, drifting quietly through an expanding universe, are among the clearest expressions of that calm. The expansion of the universe is another reason everything feels unhurried and quiet. Expansion does not behave like an explosion spreading outward into space. Space itself is stretching gently and continuously, carrying galaxies along with it. This motion is smooth, not violent. There is no center, no shockwave, and no sudden acceleration that would create disturbance. As space expands, distances between large structures increase. Galaxies move farther apart over time. This separation reduces interaction. When objects are close together, gravity, radiation, and collisions are more likely. When objects are far apart, these interactions weaken or disappear entirely. Expansion creates room, and room creates calm. Early in the universe, matter was packed tightly together. Interactions were frequent, energy was concentrated, conditions were extreme. As expansion progressed, density dropped, energy spread out. Regions that once influenced one another became isolated. This gradual thinning transformed an active, crowded environment into one defined by space and separation. Expansion also lowers energy density. The same amount of energy occupies an ever-growing volume. As a result, temperatures fall and motion becomes less intense. This cooling is not abrupt. It happens steadily, over immense periods of time. The universe does not rush toward quiet. It drifts there. Because expansion is uniform, it does not introduce turbulence. Everything moves away from everything else at a predictable rate. There are no sudden changes in direction, no abrupt shifts in speed. Motion remains smooth and consistent. This uniformity contributes strongly to the sense of calm. Expansion also limits how often large-scale events can occur. As galaxies separate, encounters become rarer. Collisions that once shaped cosmic structure now happen infrequently. Star formation slows. Energetic interactions decline. The universe becomes quieter not because processes stop, but because they are given more space to unfold without interference. From a human perspective, expansion is almost imperceptible. It does not announce itself. It does not create sensation. Its effects are measured through careful observation rather than direct experience. This invisibility reinforces calm. The universe changes, but it does so without drawing attention. There is also a psychological aspect. Expansion implies openness rather than confinement. Space feels unbounded, not compressed. This absence of pressure translates into a feeling of ease. Nothing feels trapped, nothing feels crowded. The universe appears relaxed in its own scale. Even light is affected by expansion. As space stretches, light waves lengthen slightly. Energy spreads further. Signals soften as they travel. This stretching contributes to the gentle way information arrives from distant regions. Expansion does not sharpen experience. It diffuses it. Importantly, expansion does not oppose structure. Local systems remain bound by gravity. Stars stay within galaxies. Galaxies remain within clusters. But beyond these bound regions, expansion dominates, increasing separation and reducing interaction. Calm exists alongside structure, not in opposition to it. This balance is one of the universe's defining features. On small scales, gravity creates order. On large scales, expansion creates space. Together, they ensure that activity remains localized while the broader universe stays quiet. Over time, expansion becomes more influential. Distances grow, interactions diminish. The background of the universe becomes calmer and more uniform. The universe does not collapse inward or tear itself apart. It stretches gently, carrying everything with it. The feeling of calm that comes from contemplating space is closely tied to this process. Expansion ensures that no region dominates, no event overwhelms everything else. Energy and matter are given room to exist without constant collision or conflict. In this way, expansion acts as a quieting influence built directly into the fabric of reality. It does not silence the universe by removing activity. It silences it by spreading activity out. Calm, once again, is not emptiness. It is distance increasing steadily, interactions fading naturally, and motion continuing without urgency. The expanding universe feels calm because it is designed, by its own physical laws, to become more spacious with time. As the universe expands and energy spreads out, another principle quietly shapes how everything feels. This principle is entropy. It is often misunderstood as disorder, but in practice it describes how energy naturally moves from concentrated states to more even ones. Over time, sharp differences soften, hot regions cool, dense regions thin. Extremes become less extreme. In the early universe, energy was packed tightly together, temperatures were high, interactions were frequent. As space expanded, energy began to disperse. It did not vanish, it spread. This spreading reduced contrast. Where once there were sharp boundaries, there became gradients. Where there was turbulence, there emerged smooth transitions. Entropy works slowly, but it works consistently. It does not act with force or intention. It follows probability. When energy has many ways to spread out and fewer ways to remain concentrated, spreading becomes inevitable. Given enough time, this process dominates. This tendency toward evenness has a calming effect. Systems with large differences are active. They exchange energy rapidly. Systems with small differences change more slowly. When temperatures equalize and densities even out, there is less reason for motion. The universe does not need to push energy around when it is already spread thinly. Entropy also limits repetition of extreme events. Concentrated energy can create dramatic effects, but once that energy has dispersed, recreating the same conditions becomes unlikely. The universe does not easily return to high contrast states. It moves forward into smoother ones. This makes calm more persistent than disruption. Importantly, entropy does not remove structure entirely. Local pockets of low entropy can still form, stars ignite, planets assemble, life emerges. But these are exceptions created under specific conditions. The broader universe continues its slow drift toward uniformity. Calm dominates not because nothing happens, but because most places no longer have the conditions needed for dramatic change. Entropy also smooths motion. Differences in pressure and temperature drive movement. When those differences shrink, movement slows. The universe becomes quieter not through sudden stops, but through the gradual reduction of contrast. Motion fades into steady drift. There is also a perceptual effect. Humans notice change when differences are sharp. A sudden temperature shift is obvious. A slow, gradual change often goes unnoticed. Entropy operates on time scales and scales that reduce noticeable contrast. The universe feels calm because the changes that remain are subtle and spread out. Entropy shapes radiation as well. Energy released long ago becomes background. It fills space evenly, arriving from all directions with nearly the same intensity. When energy has no preferred direction or concentration, it creates no sensation of disturbance. It becomes part of the quiet fabric of the universe. This evenness is not static. It is dynamic equilibrium. Energy still moves, particles still interact, but the movements cancel out on large scales. No region dominates, no event overwhelms the rest. The universe settles into a condition where activity exists without agitation. Over long periods of time, entropy ensures that calm becomes the default, not by enforcing stillness, but by making extremes rare and short-lived. The universe remembers its energetic past, but it does not repeat it easily. This process is gentle. It does not require sudden transitions. It unfolds patiently, shaping the universe without drama. Calm emerges not as a special state, but as the most likely outcome of physical law acting over vast time. In this way, entropy contributes to the sense that the universe is settled and unhurried. Energy has had time to spread. Differences have had time to soften. What remains is a background of quiet motion, steady and persistent. The universe feels calm because, at its largest scales, it has already done much of its changing. What continues now is slow adjustment rather than upheaval. Entropy ensures that this calm deepens with time, reinforcing the quiet character of the cosmos. Because calm dominates the universe, moments of drama stand out sharply when they occur. Explosions, collisions, and bursts of radiation capture attention precisely because they are rare. They interrupt long periods of stability rather than define them. When people imagine the universe as constantly violent, they are focusing on exceptions rather than the rule. Most regions of space spend most of their existence in relatively uneventful states. Stars shine steadily, gas drifts slowly, galaxies rotate predictably. The universe does not constantly rebuild itself through catastrophe. It maintains itself through endurance. This endurance is what creates the impression of calm. Dramatic events require very specific conditions. Matter must be concentrated, forces must align, energy must accumulate faster than it can dissipate. These conditions are difficult to sustain in a universe that is expanding, cooling, and thinning. As time passes, the opportunities for extreme events decrease. Calm becomes more common not because activity stops, but because the universe no longer supports constant extremes. Even when dramatic events occur, their influence is limited. A supernova affects its immediate surroundings, enriching nearby space with heavier elements. Beyond that region, its effects fade quickly. The universe does not amplify local violence into global disturbance. It contains it. This containment is one of the reasons calm persists. There is also a filtering effect created by time and distance. Events that are truly disruptive are usually short-lived. Their aftermath may last longer, but the peak intensity passes quickly. When such events are observed from afar, only the softened remnants remain. The universe presents its history in a calm form, not because the past lacked drama, but because time has already smoothed it. The way information travels reinforces this impression. Signals arrive delayed, weakened, and separated from their original context. A violent event that once unfolded rapidly is received as a slow change in brightness or a faint shift in radiation. By the time it is detected, it no longer carries urgency. Observation replaces reaction. This selective presentation shapes understanding. People learn about dramatic cosmic events through description and measurement, not direct experience. The universe does not confront observers with danger. It offers data. Calm is preserved because experience is mediated rather than immediate. The rarity of dramatic events also highlights how stable most systems are. Stars spend the majority of their lives in steady phases. Galaxies persist for billions of years without major disruption. Even the large-scale structure of the universe changes slowly. Instability is resolved quickly or confined locally. Stability is what lasts. This pattern is not accidental. Systems that cannot maintain balance do not persist. They collapse, explode, or disperse. What remains are systems that have found configurations capable of long-term survival. Over time, the universe becomes dominated by what can endure. Calm is the signature of endurance. From a broader perspective, dramatic events are part of the universe's way of redistributing energy and matter, not a sign of ongoing turmoil. They help shape structure, but they do not define the overall state. Once their role is complete, the universe returns to its prevailing condition of steadiness. This explains why looking into space does not feel overwhelming. The mind is not responding to constant threat. It is responding to a background that is stable, predictable, and slow. The few disruptions that exist do not outweigh the vast stretches of quiet in between. Calm is therefore not a temporary phase. It is the dominant mode of the universe. Drama appears briefly, does its work, and fades. What remains is balance, spread out energy, and long-lasting structure. Understanding this helps reframe how the universe is perceived. It is not a place of constant crisis. It is a place where change is measured, localized, and usually gentle when seen from afar. The feeling of calm is not misleading. It reflects the true proportion of activity to stability. As the universe continues to age, this pattern strengthens. Opportunities for extreme events become fewer. Energy continues to disperse. The intervals between disruptions grow longer. Calm becomes deeper and more persistent. The universe feels calm because, most of the time, it truly is. What appears to be empty space is not truly empty, but it is gentle in how it behaves. The vacuum of the universe contains particles, fields, and subtle fluctuations, yet interactions within it are rare and weak. This environment does not push back, does not resist motion, and does not amplify energy. Instead, it allows matter and radiation to move quietly across vast distances with very little interference. On Earth, environments are dense. Air presses against surfaces, liquids resist movement, solids transmit vibration. These properties create friction, sound, heat, and turbulence. In space, most of these effects vanish. There is almost nothing to collide with, almost nothing to slow things down, and almost nothing to carry disturbance from one place to another. Motion becomes smooth, change becomes gradual. This lack of resistance has a calming effect on everything that passes through it. Objects do not shake or rattle as they move. Energy does not pile up into pressure waves. When particles travel through space, they often do so uninterrupted for enormous distances. Without constant interaction, systems retain stability rather than being forced into rapid change. Even light benefits from this gentleness. Photons travel through space without losing energy to friction. They are not scattered repeatedly. They are not absorbed and re-emitted continuously. Instead, they move freely, preserving information while arriving softly. The vacuum acts as a quiet passage rather than a noisy medium. The fields that fill space, such as gravitational and electromagnetic fields, also behave smoothly. They do not fluctuate violently from moment to moment. Their influence changes gradually with distance. This steadiness ensures that forces act predictably rather than erratically. Predictability reduces disturbance. It allows systems to remain settled. The vacuum also limits how quickly energy can be exchanged. With few particles available to interact, energy transfer happens slowly. Heat does not spread rapidly. Motion does not cascade into turbulence. Changes remain local and contained. The universe avoids chain reactions simply because there is nothing nearby to carry them forward. This environment encourages persistence. Once an object is moving in a certain way, it tends to continue. Orbits remain stable, paths repeat. Without external interference, motion becomes regular. Regular motion feels calm because it lacks surprise. There is also a subtle psychological effect. When nothing presses against the senses, awareness softens. Space does not overwhelm perception. It does not demand attention. It simply exists, allowing observation without intrusion. This contributes to the sense that the universe is not imposing itself, but offering itself quietly. The vacuum is not inert. It is active in subtle ways. Particles appear and disappear at very small scales. Fields fluctuate slightly, but these activities are balanced and fleeting. They do not build into large disturbances. On the scales that shape stars, galaxies, and cosmic structure, the vacuum remains a stabilizing presence. Because of this, the universe does not feel crowded, it does not feel heavy, it does not feel tense. Everything has room to move without constant interaction. Calm emerges naturally when there is space between things and little resistance to motion. This gentleness also means that once systems settle into stable configurations, they tend to remain there. Nothing in the vacuum pushes them out of balance. Nothing agitates them into constant change. The universe allows stability to persist. When considering why the universe feels calm, the nature of empty space itself plays a central role. It does not amplify activity, it absorbs it. It does not create noise, it removes it. The vacuum is not a void of nothingness, but an environment optimized for quiet continuity. In such an environment, even powerful forces behave politely. They act across distance without shock. They influence without intrusion. The universe feels calm because its background condition encourages smoothness rather than disruption. This calm is not fragile. It is reinforced everywhere space exists, which is almost everywhere. The vacuum provides the stage on which cosmic activity unfolds gently, ensuring that the overall character of the universe remains steady and unhurried. The universe is filled with energy, yet it rarely feels overwhelming. One of the clearest examples of this is the quiet background of radiation that exists everywhere in space. This radiation is real, measurable, and ancient, but it does not announce itself. It does not fluctuate wildly. It does not press upon the senses. It simply exists as a steady presence. Long ago, when the universe was far hotter and denser, energy was intense and concentrated. As expansion progressed, that energy spread out. What remains today is a faint, uniform glow that fills all of space almost evenly. It arrives from every direction with nearly the same intensity. Because there is no strong contrast, there is no sensation of disturbance. Energy becomes noticeable when it varies sharply from place to place. A sudden increase in heat draws attention. A bright flash against darkness feels dramatic. When energy is evenly distributed, it blends into the background. The universe has had enough time for much of its energy to reach this even state. Calm emerges as a consequence of uniformity. This background radiation is also extremely weak by human standards. Each portion carries very little energy. It does not heat surfaces quickly. It does not drive motion. It does not disrupt structure. Its influence is gentle, almost negligible at the scale of daily experience. Yet collectively, it tells a deep story about the universe's past. The calmness associated with this radiation comes from its steadiness. It does not surge. It does not pulse. It does not demand attention. Instruments detect it only with careful isolation and sensitivity. Human senses pass over it entirely. The universe carries its history quietly, without forcing it into awareness. There is also the effect of time smoothing out variation. When radiation has traveled for billions of years, small differences average out, peaks flatten, valleys fill in. What remains is consistency. Consistency feels calm because it offers no surprises. This steady background also highlights how much the universe has settled. In its early stages, energy dominated everything. Interactions were constant. Conditions changed rapidly. Today, energy still exists everywhere, but it no longer dominates experience. It has become part of the environment rather than an active force shaping every moment. The same principle applies beyond radiation. Particles move through space constantly, but their distribution is sparse. Fields extend everywhere, but their strengths change smoothly. The universe does not concentrate energy without reason. When concentration does occur, it is local and temporary. The broader background remains quiet. There is an important psychological effect tied to this. Humans are sensitive to contrast. We notice edges, changes, and sudden differences. A smooth background fades into awareness. The universe presents itself largely as a smooth background, with only occasional variation. This naturally produces a sense of calm. Uniform energy also stabilizes systems. Without strong gradients, there is little to drive motion. Objects remain where they are. Structures persist. The universe avoids constant rearrangement because the forces needed to drive it are no longer concentrated. This does not mean the universe is lifeless or inactive. Activity continues at many scales, but that activity is layered on top of a calm foundation. The background does not interfere. It supports continuity rather than disruption. When you consider how much energy the universe once contained and how evenly that energy is now spread, the feeling of calm becomes understandable. The universe has not lost its energy. It has redistributed it so thoroughly that it no longer demands attention. This redistribution is one of the universe's quiet achievements. It transforms a violent past into a gentle present without erasing what came before. The evidence remains, but it is softened, steady, and unobtrusive. The universe feels calm because its background is calm. Energy is everywhere, but nowhere in excess. Nothing presses urgently. Nothing overwhelms. What remains is a quiet field of presence, carrying the memory of earlier intensity without reproducing it. In this way, calm is not a fragile state that must be protected. It is the natural result of time allowing energy to spread and settle. The universe has reached a stage where its background conditions support stability, patience, and quiet continuity. Gravity is often imagined as a force that creates chaos, pulling matter together into collisions and collapse. In practice, gravity does something quieter. Over time, it smooths motion. It turns irregular paths into predictable ones. It transforms disorder into patterns that can last for billions of years. This smoothing effect is one of the reasons the universe feels settled rather than unstable. In the early universe, matter moved in many directions with little coordination. Small differences in density led to uneven motion. Gravity amplified those differences, drawing material toward regions that were already slightly denser. At first, this process was active and uneven, but as structures formed, gravity began to organize motion instead of intensifying it. When matter gathers into a system, gravity encourages repetition. Orbits emerge because repeated paths are more stable than random ones. Once an object settles into an orbit, it tends to remain there unless disturbed. Energy is no longer spent on unpredictable motion. It is conserved within a regular pattern. Regularity reduces surprise. Surprise is what creates tension. Without it, calm becomes possible. This effect is visible everywhere in the universe. Planets orbit stars. Stars orbit the centers of galaxies. Galaxies move within clusters. At each level, gravity channels motion into paths that repeat. The larger the system, the more stable those paths become. Small disturbances average out. Large deviations are corrected over time. Gravity also removes excess energy from systems. When objects interact gravitationally, energy can be redistributed. Some objects gain energy and move outward, others lose energy and settle inward. Over long periods, this redistribution favors configurations that do not change rapidly. Systems that are too energetic tend to break apart or rearrange until they find balance. This balancing process is slow. It does not involve sudden corrections. It unfolds over many cycles of motion. Each orbit, each pass, slightly adjusts trajectories. Over time, motion becomes smoother. The universe does not rush toward order, it drifts toward it. There is also the absence of friction to consider. On Earth, gravity often leads to rapid collapse because friction converts motion into heat and stops movement abruptly. In space, friction is minimal. Objects fall into orbits rather than crashing directly. Motion is preserved rather than extinguished. Preservation of motion allows systems to remain stable instead of collapsing violently. Gravity, therefore, does not constantly create drama. It creates structure. Once structure exists, gravity works to maintain it. This maintenance feels calm because it resists sudden change. The universe favors continuity over disruption. The predictability created by gravity extends to perception. When motion follows known paths, it does not demand attention. The mind responds strongly to unpredictability. Predictable motion fades into the background. The universe feels calm because much of its motion is predictable on large scales. Even events that begin chaotically are eventually smoothed by gravity. After an energetic interaction, matter settles into new orbits. Debris spreads out. Extremes fade. The system finds a new balance. Calm returns, not because activity stops, but because activity becomes organized. This organizing role of gravity also explains why the universe does not feel fragile. Structures persist, orbits last, patterns repeat. The universe does not teeter on the edge of collapse. It occupies configurations that have proven stable over immense periods of time. When you look at the night sky, You are seeing the result of gravity having already done its work. Stars are not flying apart. Galaxies are not dissolving. Motion continues, but it does so within boundaries that maintain order. Gravity is often described as an attractive force, but its deeper role is stabilizing. It guides motion into forms that can endure. It removes excess energy gradually. It creates repetition. These qualities are not dramatic, but they are calming. The universe feels calm because gravity has had time to shape it. What began as uneven motion has been refined into long-lasting patterns. The smoothing influence of gravity ensures that once systems settle, they remain quiet and predictable for most of their existence. Calm here is not the absence of force. It is the presence of a force that prefers balance over disruption. Gravity does not shout, it holds. And in holding the universe together, it gives the cosmos its steady, unhurried character. The universe did not begin in a calm state. Its earliest moments were marked by extreme density, temperature, and rapid change. Matter and energy were compressed into a condition where interactions were constant and intense. Yet this phase did not last long. Almost immediately, expansion began to transform those extremes into something more stable. Calm did not appear suddenly. It emerged gradually as conditions softened. As space expanded, distances increased. Particles that once interacted constantly began to separate. Temperatures dropped. Energy spread out. The universe moved away from its most intense state, not through collapse or exhaustion, but through dilution. Expansion reduced pressure and slowed interaction. What had been crowded became spacious. This transition was not chaotic. It followed simple physical rules. As density fell, the rate of interaction declined. Processes that once happened rapidly began to slow. The universe shifted from a state dominated by immediate change to one defined by long-term evolution. This shift marked the beginning of the calm character the universe has maintained ever since. Even during its early active phases, the universe did not behave erratically. Expansion was smooth, cooling was steady. The universe did not oscillate between extremes. It moved consistently in one direction, toward lower density and lower energy concentration. This consistency laid the foundation for stability. As conditions softened, structure became possible. Matter could gather without constant disruption. Gravity began shaping clouds into stars and galaxies. These structures formed slowly, guided by balance rather than violence. Calm did not prevent formation. It enabled it. What is important is that the universe did not remain in its most active state. Physical laws favored spreading rather than concentration. Once expansion reduced density enough, there was no mechanism to reverse the trend. The universe naturally transitioned into a quieter mode of existence. This means that calm is not a temporary phase between periods of chaos. It is the long-term condition toward which the universe moved early and has continued to maintain. The early universe was intense because it was young and compressed. The present universe is calm because it is mature and expanded. Time played a crucial role in this transformation. Given enough time, even the most extreme conditions soften. Expansion allowed energy to distribute evenly. Cooling allowed motion to slow. Interactions became less frequent. The universe aged into stability. This aging process continues. The universe today is calmer than it was billions of years ago, and it will become calmer still. Expansion does not pause. Energy continues to spread. Each passing era reduces the likelihood of extreme conditions repeating. From a human perspective, it may seem strange that something so vast could ever have been otherwise. The calmness of the present universe feels permanent, but it is the result of a long evolution rather than an original state. The universe earned its calm through time and space working together. Understanding this removes the idea that calm is fragile. It is not something the universe must protect. It is something the universe naturally grows into. The forces that once drove intensity now drive separation and balance. The early universe was defined by closeness. The present universe is defined by distance. That distance is not emptiness. It is the space that allows everything else to exist quietly. Calm emerges not because the universe slowed its activity, but because activity was given room to spread without conflict. This progression from intensity to calm is one of the most consistent features of cosmic history. It shows that calm is not accidental. It is the expected outcome of a universe governed by expansion, energy conservation, and time. The universe feels calm because it has moved far from its beginnings. What remains is not inertia, but maturity, a system that has settled into a mode where change continues without urgency and power exists without disturbance. In this sense, calm is not the absence of history, it is the result of having one. Most of the universe is empty, and that emptiness plays a central role in how calm everything feels. Matter is not spread evenly through space. It gathers into stars, planets, and galaxies, leaving vast regions in between with almost nothing in them. These regions are not unusual or secondary, they are the dominant condition of the cosmos. Between stars within a galaxy, distances are immense. Between galaxies, those distances become almost unimaginable. In these regions, particles are so sparse that interactions are rare. Energy passes through without resistance. Motion continues without interruption. Nothing presses, collides, or accumulates easily. Emptiness prevents build-up, and without build-up, disturbance fades. On Earth, activity feels intense because space is limited. Matter is packed closely together. Heat, pressure, and motion interact constantly. In the universe, there is room. When something energetic occurs, that energy has somewhere to go. It spreads outward rather than piling up. Emptiness acts as a release valve, ensuring that extremes remain local and temporary. This emptiness also slows change. When particles are far apart, reactions occur less frequently. Processes that would happen quickly in dense environments take much longer. Without constant interaction, systems evolve gradually. Gradual change feels calm because it offers no sharp transitions. Emptiness also reduces noise, both literal and figurative. Without matter to carry vibration, sound cannot propagate. Without dense fields of interaction, energy does not cascade rapidly. The universe avoids chain reactions simply because there is nothing nearby to carry them forward. One event does not easily trigger another. There is a stabilizing effect to this. Structures that form within the universe exist as islands in a vast sea of space. They are influenced primarily by their own internal dynamics, rather than constant external interference. Once they reach balance, they are left undisturbed for long periods of time. Calm persists because there is little to disrupt it. From a perceptual standpoint, emptiness also shapes experience. When most of what exists is invisible and inactive at human scales, attention naturally settles. The mind does not encounter constant stimulation. The universe presents itself as spacious rather than crowded. Spaciousness feels restful. Emptiness does not mean nothing is happening. Particles still move. Fields still exist. Radiation still travels. But without concentration, these activities do not dominate. They blend into the background. The universe remains active without feeling busy. This vast emptiness also protects. Dangerous events require proximity. Radiation weakens with distance. Debris disperses. Shockwaves fade. The space between structures ensures that what happens in one place rarely threatens another. Calm is maintained through separation. Emptiness is therefore not a flaw or a void waiting to be filled. It is a structural feature that supports stability. It allows energy to dissipate. It limits interaction. It gives systems time to settle and remain settled. When people look into the night sky and feel a sense of peace, they are responding not only to what they see, but to what they do not see. The darkness between stars is not absence, it is the space that makes everything else gentle. The universe feels calm because most of it is not crowded with events. It is open, it is spacious, it allows activity to exist without constant interference. Emptiness, far from being nothing, is one of the quiet foundations of cosmic stability. In the vast stretches between stars and galaxies, calm is not imposed. It simply arises, naturally, wherever there is room for things to exist without touching. Human perception plays a quiet but powerful role in why the universe feels calm. Our senses evolved to notice rapid change, nearby motion, and immediate threat. They are tuned to environments where distance is short and time is tight. The universe operates far outside those limits. As a result, much of what happens beyond Earth does not register as activity at all. On human scales, change is noticeable when it happens quickly. A sudden movement draws the eye. A sharp sound triggers attention. A rapid shift in temperature or light feels urgent. In the universe, most change unfolds too slowly to activate these responses. Stars brighten or dim over spans far longer than a lifetime. Galaxies rearrange themselves over epochs. Even when motion is constant, it is so gradual that it feels like stillness. Distance compounds this effect. Objects that are far away appear smaller and slower. Their movement is harder to detect. A nearby cloud changes shape within minutes. A distant galaxy appears frozen across generations. The universe does not slow down for observers. It simply operates at scales that exceed sensory resolution. Calm is often the result of limits in perception rather than an absence of motion. There is also the matter of reference points. On Earth, motion is obvious because surroundings provide contrast. Trees sway against the sky. Vehicles pass by stationary buildings. In space, reference points are sparse. When everything is moving together, motion becomes difficult to perceive. A planet orbiting a star feels stable because the star moves with it. A galaxy rotating feels steady because its parts share the same overall motion. Without contrast, movement fades into the background. Human time perception reinforces this calm. We are aware of change when it fits within familiar intervals. Seconds, days, years. When processes extend beyond these intervals, the mind categorizes them as permanent or unchanging. Mountains feel fixed because erosion is slow. Stars feel eternal because their evolution is slower still. The universe feels calm because its most important processes outlast attention. Expectation also matters. When the mind expects noise, silence feels striking. When it expects activity, stillness feels peaceful. Space violates many expectations formed on Earth. There is no sound, no wind, no friction. The absence of familiar signals is interpreted as calm, even when unseen activity continues. There is a protective aspect to this mismatch. If human perception were sensitive to every particle interaction or distant burst of radiation, the universe would feel overwhelming. Instead, perception filters out what is irrelevant at human scales. Only concentrated, nearby events register strongly. The vast majority of cosmic activity passes unnoticed. Calm is preserved because awareness is selective. This selectivity does not mean ignorance. Instruments can detect what senses cannot. Telescopes reveal motion where eyes see none. Sensors register radiation where skin feels nothing. The universe is active, but that activity is translated into data rather than sensation. Knowledge replaces experience. Understanding does not require alarm. There is also an emotional component. When change is slow and distant, it feels less threatening. The mind relaxes when it does not need to react. The universe presents itself in a way that allows contemplation rather than defense. Calm arises not just from physical conditions, but from how those conditions align with human limits. Importantly, this does not mean calm is imagined. Physical processes truly do operate gently at large scales. Perception simply reinforces what physics already produces. Slow change, vast distance, and low interaction combine with sensory limits to create an experience of steadiness. The universe does not feel calm because it is inactive. It feels calm because it moves at a pace and scale that lie beyond urgency. Human perception, shaped by immediacy, encounters a reality shaped by patience. The result is a sense of quiet continuity. When observing the cosmos, it may help to remember that calm is not something added by interpretation. It is the natural meeting point between how the universe behaves and how humans perceive. The universe does not rush, and neither does the experience of observing it. Calm, in this way, is not imposed by distance or time alone. It is completed by perception, which allows vast, slow processes to exist without demand. The universe feels calm because, to human senses, it truly unfolds without urgency, leaving room for attention to rest rather than react. Distance does more than soften energy and slow perception. It also acts as a natural form of protection. Most of the universe's most violent events occur far from Earth, separated by vast expanses of space and long stretches of time. This separation ensures that even powerful events rarely pose immediate danger. Calm is maintained not by luck, but by structure. When something energetic happens in space, its effects weaken rapidly with distance. Radiation spreads out, particles disperse, shock fronts fade. What remains after long travel is often so diluted that it blends into the background of space. The universe does not concentrate danger across large regions. It confines it locally and allows distance to neutralize it. This buffering effect is fundamental. If the universe were smaller or denser, interactions would be constant, energy would overlap, events would influence one another more easily. Instead, space is vast enough that most occurrences are isolated. One region can experience dramatic change, while another remains completely unaffected. Calm persists because influence does not spread easily. Time reinforces this protection. Signals from distant events take years, centuries, or millions of years to arrive. By the time they do, conditions have already changed. The moment of greatest intensity has passed. What reaches Earth is a softened trace, not an unfolding crisis. The universe rarely confronts observers with immediate threat. This separation allows life to exist. Stable environments require insulation from constant disruption. Earth benefits from being located in a quiet region of its galaxy, far from dense star clusters and frequent high-energy events. Calm at a cosmic scale creates pockets where complexity can develop without interruption. There is also a psychological dimension. Knowing that most events are distant reduces tension. The mind does not prepare for impact when danger feels remote. Distance allows awareness without alarm. The universe can be observed without triggering defensive response. Importantly, this buffering is not perfect, but it is effective. Rare events do affect Earth, such as occasional radiation bursts or impacts, yet these are exceptions across immense timescales. The dominant condition remains protection through separation. Calm endures because risk is diluted. Distance also prevents accumulation. Even if multiple energetic events occur across the universe, their effects rarely overlap in one location. Each fades before another arrives. There is no compounding of intensity. Space ensures that activity remains distributed rather than additive. This distributed risk is one of the universe's quiet safeguards. It allows enormous energy to exist without overwhelming any single region. Calm emerges not because power is absent, but because power is spaced apart. From a broader perspective, distance turns the universe into a system of largely independent regions. Each evolves according to its own conditions. Interaction is limited. Stability becomes possible. Calm is not enforced. It arises naturally from separation. The universe feels calm because it is structured to prevent constant interference. Space and time work together to shield regions from one another's extremes. What remains is a background of steady existence, punctuated only occasionally by distant change. This buffering does not diminish the reality of cosmic events. It simply ensures that their influence is proportionate. Nothing dominates. Nothing overwhelms. The universe maintains balance by keeping its most intense moments far apart. Calm, here, is not fragile or accidental. It is a built-in outcome of distance acting as protection. The universe does not surround us with chaos. It places chaos far away, allowing observation without disturbance. In this way, distance serves not only as a physical measure, but as a stabilizing principle. It protects systems from constant disruption and allows the universe to remain, for the most part, quiet and composed. Most change in the universe happens through slow cycles rather than sudden shifts. This rhythm contributes strongly to the feeling of calm. Stars are born, age, and fade, but these processes unfold over immense spans of time. Galaxies grow and evolve, but their transformations are gradual. The universe favors continuity, allowing systems to change without abrupt interruption. Star formation is a clear example. Clouds of gas drift for millions of years before gravity gathers them tightly enough to ignite a star. Once formed, that star enters a long period of steady existence. Its light output remains nearly constant. Its influence on its surroundings changes slowly. There is no sudden beginning or ending that demands attention. The cycle proceeds patiently. The same is true for the end of stellar life. While some stars end in dramatic events, most fade quietly. Their fuel is consumed gradually. Their outer layers drift away. What remains settles into a stable remnant. Even when dramatic endings occur, they are brief compared to the long calm phases that precede and follow them. Galaxies follow similar cycles. Star formation rates rise and fall over billions of years. Gas is consumed slowly. New generations of stars replace older ones without disrupting the overall structure. The galaxy does not reinvent itself suddenly. It evolves by small adjustments accumulated over long time. These cycles do not demand constant energy input. They are self-regulating. Gravity, radiation, and motion balance one another in ways that allow processes to continue smoothly. Once a cycle is established, it tends to persist. Persistence creates predictability. Predictability feels calm. Slow cycles also prevent cascading disruption. When change is gradual, systems have time to adjust. Feedback mechanisms stabilize conditions. Extremes are avoided because there is no rapid build-up. The universe rarely surprises itself. It responds to change at the same pace. Change occurs. There is a perceptual effect as well. Cycles that extend beyond a human lifetime feel static. The sky appears unchanged because its cycles are longer than memory. Calm arises when the environment does not challenge expectations or demand constant re-evaluation. Importantly, slow cycles allow complexity to exist. Life, chemistry, and stable environments require time without sudden upheaval. The universe's preference for gradual change creates the conditions under which such complexity can emerge and persist. Even motion itself follows cycles. Orbits repeat. Paths recur. Patterns return. Repetition reduces novelty. Reduced novelty reduces tension. The universe feels calm because much of what it does again and again in familiar ways. Sudden shifts do occur, but they are embedded within a background of slow evolution. They stand out precisely because they interrupt a prevailing rhythm. Once they pass, the universe returns to its cycles. These cycles are not static loops. They move forward, but slowly. Each repetition carries small differences, but not enough to disrupt continuity. The universe advances without rushing. Calm, then, is not stagnation. It is motion that has found a rhythm gentle enough to sustain itself indefinitely. The universe feels calm because it changes in ways that respect balance and time, allowing everything to continue without urgency. Some of the most influential components of the universe operate quietly, without spectacle or direct sensation. Dark matter and dark energy shape the cosmos on the largest scales, yet they do so without light, sound, or immediate interaction. Their influence is subtle, persistent, and steady. This quiet influence contributes to the overall feeling that the universe is composed rather than turbulent. Dark matter does not emit or absorb light. It does not collide in obvious ways. Its presence is inferred through gravity, through the way galaxies rotate and clusters hold together. This means its influence is smooth rather than abrupt. It guides motion without announcing itself. Where dark matter is present, structures are stabilized rather than agitated. Galaxies remain bound. Orbits remain predictable. Calm is reinforced through unseen support. Because dark matter interacts weakly with ordinary matter, it does not generate friction or heat. It does not create turbulence. It simply adds gravitational structure. This structure prevents systems from flying apart while allowing them to evolve slowly. The universe gains stability without gaining noise. Dark energy operates even more quietly. It does not pull objects together. It gently increases the expansion of space itself. This influence is uniform across vast regions. There is no center, no direction, no localized surge. The effect is the same everywhere, changing conditions gradually rather than suddenly. Uniform influence does not create disturbance, it creates consistency. The combined effect of these unseen components is a universe that changes smoothly on the largest scales. Expansion accelerates gently, structures persist, motion remains predictable. Nothing jerks or lurches. The universe continues without drama. There is an important psychological aspect to this. Forces that cannot be directly felt do not provoke alarm. The universe is shaped by influences that do not press on the senses. This allows awareness without tension. The cosmos does not confront observers with constant sensation. It supports contemplation rather than reaction. These quiet forces also act over immense timescales. Their effects are measured in billions of years. Changes accumulate slowly. There is no moment when dark energy suddenly asserts itself. There is no instant when dark matter rearranges a galaxy. Everything unfolds with patience. This patience reinforces calm. When causes operate slowly, effects feel settled. The universe does not appear reactive or unstable. It appears to follow a long, steady course, guided by influences that are always present but never urgent. The absence of direct interaction also prevents cascading effects. Because dark matter and dark energy do not collide or exchange energy in familiar ways, they do not trigger chain reactions. Their influence remains structural rather than disruptive. Structure supports calm. From a broader perspective, the universe is dominated by what cannot be seen or touched. Ordinary matter, which forms stars and planets, is only a small fraction of what exists. The rest operates quietly in the background, shaping conditions without demanding attention. Calm is built into the foundation of reality. This does not diminish the importance of visible phenomena. Stars shine, galaxies glow, but beneath these visible layers lies a framework that keeps everything balanced. That framework works silently. It does not fluctuate wildly. It does not compete with itself. It simply holds. The universe feels calm because its most powerful influences do not express themselves through sensation. They do not push or pull abruptly. They guide gently, steadily, and everywhere at once. Calm is not an absence of force. It is the presence of forces that act without disturbance. As time continues, these quiet influences will shape the future as they shape the past. Expansion will continue smoothly. Structures will remain stable for long periods. Change will occur without urgency. The universe will not become more frantic. It will become more spacious and even. In this way, calm is not just a temporary condition. It is supported by the very components that dominate the universe. What cannot be seen does much of the work, and it does so quietly. Motion in space is often described with enormous numbers. Stars travel at hundreds of kilometers per second. Galaxies move through the universe at speeds that would be impossible to experience directly. And yet, none of this motion feels fast. The universe does not rush, it glides. This difference between speed and sensation is another reason everything feels calm. On Earth, speed is usually accompanied by resistance. Air pushes back, surfaces vibrate, friction generates sound and heat. Acceleration is felt in the body. These effects turn motion into sensation. In space, most of these cues are absent. Without friction and without a surrounding medium, movement produces almost no disturbance. Objects can travel quickly without creating noise, pressure, or turbulence. Speed alone does not create urgency. Change in speed does. Sudden acceleration or abrupt shifts in direction demand attention. In space, motion tends to be steady. Objects follow curved paths shaped by gravity rather than sharp turns. Acceleration is continuous and smooth. Because there are no sudden changes, motion feels gentle even when velocities are high. There is also the matter of shared motion. Many objects move together. A planet and its star travel through space as a system. A star and its surrounding galaxy share a common motion. When everything nearby is moving in roughly the same way, relative motion becomes small. Without contrast, speed becomes invisible. Calm emerges from coherence. Reference points are sparse in space. On Earth, buildings, trees, and horizons provide fixed frames against which motion is obvious. In the universe, there are few such anchors. When a star moves, there is often nothing nearby to reveal its speed. Motion without reference feels like stillness. Time again plays a role. Motion that unfolds over long periods appears slow. Even if a star travels a great distance, that journey takes millions of years. From a human perspective, this change is imperceptible. The universe does not hurry from one configuration to another. It transitions gradually, allowing motion to exist without urgency. There is also the absence of collision. In dense environments, motion leads to impact. Impact creates noise and change. In space, collisions are rare, paths are wide. Objects pass by one another without contact. Motion continues uninterrupted. Without collision, there is no climax, no moment that demands response. This uninterrupted motion creates a sense of continuity. Orbits repeat, paths recur. The universe does not constantly reinvent its movement. It maintains patterns that persist. Persistence feels calm because it removes unpredictability. Even light, which moves at a constant and extreme speed, arrives without sensation. It does not push. It does not announce itself. It informs quietly. Speed, when stripped of force, loses its urgency. The universe therefore contains enormous motion without the chaos usually associated with it. This is not because motion is weak, but because it is unopposed. Without friction, without crowding, without abrupt change, motion becomes smooth. Smoothness is calming. This principle applies at every scale. Particles move freely through space. Stars orbit quietly. Galaxies drift apart with expansion. Nothing jerks or lurches. Everything proceeds along paths shaped by balance rather than collision. The mind interprets this as stillness. What does not demand reaction feels calm. The universe offers motion without pressure, change without alarm. It allows awareness without tension. Motion without urgency is one of the universe's defining characteristics. It ensures that even as everything moves, nothing feels rushed. The cosmos does not hurry toward a destination, it simply continues. This is why speed in space does not contradict calm. Calm is not the absence of movement, it is the absence of disturbance. The universe has learned how to move without disturbing itself. In this way, motion becomes part of the background rather than a source of excitement or stress. The universe feels calm because its motion is patient, smooth, and continuous, allowing everything to proceed without ever needing to hurry. Across the universe, balance is not something imposed from outside. It emerges naturally from how physical systems behave over time. When conditions are extreme, forces push strongly. When conditions soften, those same forces relax. This tendency toward balance is one of the quiet reasons the universe feels composed rather than unstable. Whenever a system is far from balance, change happens more quickly. Energy flows, matter shifts, motion accelerates. But as balance is approached, those changes slow down, differences diminish. Forces cancel more evenly. The system settles into a state where large adjustments are no longer needed. Calm arises not because forces disappear, but because they are no longer pulling in opposing directions with unequal strength. This pattern appears at every scale. A cloud of gas collapses under gravity, but as density increases, internal pressure grows and resists further collapse. The cloud does not compress endlessly. It stabilizes or forms stars that themselves reach balance. In larger systems, gravity and motion work together to create steady orbits rather than uncontrolled fall. Balance becomes the preferred outcome. Unstable arrangements do not last long in the universe. They resolve quickly, either by breaking apart or by reorganizing into something more stable. Over time, what remains are configurations that can endure. These enduring systems define the character of the universe. Calm is the signature of survival. This survival-based filtering has a cumulative effect. Each generation of structures is shaped by what endured before it. Galaxies that remain are those whose motions are balanced. Star systems that persist are those that avoid constant disruption. The universe becomes increasingly dominated by what works. Balance also limits extremes. When forces grow too strong, counteracting forces grow as well. Expansion reduces density, pressure resists collapse, motion redistributes energy. These feedback processes prevent runaway behavior. The universe does not spiral into constant crisis. It regulates itself quietly. There is a temporal aspect to this regulation. Balance is rarely achieved instantly. Systems oscillate gently around equilibrium before settling. These oscillations dampen over time. Sharp swings become smaller. The universe does not snap into calm. It eases into it. Because balance develops gradually, it does not demand attention. There is no dramatic moment when everything becomes stable. Instead, stability grows quietly. The universe transitions smoothly from activity to steadiness without sharp boundaries. This gradual settling influences perception. Environments that are balanced do not challenge awareness. They do not require constant adjustment. The mind relaxes in the presence of predictability. The universe feels calm because it presents itself as predictable on large scales. Importantly, balance does not mean uniformity everywhere. Local variations still exist. Stars flare, planets experience weather, galaxies contain active regions. But these variations exist within broader systems that remain stable. Calm provides the framework within which localized activity can occur without spreading uncontrollably. Balance also ensures continuity. When systems are balanced, they can persist long enough for complexity to arise. Chemistry stabilizes, structures endure, life becomes possible. Calm is not an obstacle to richness, it is what allows richness to last. The universe does not chase balance deliberately. It follows simple rules that naturally produce it. Over time, those rules favor states that change slowly rather than quickly. Calm emerges as the most common condition, not the most dramatic one. When considering why the universe feels composed, it helps to remember that what survives shapes what is seen. The universe we observe is not filled with failed configurations. It is filled with those that found balance and remained there. Calm, in this sense, is not fragile or temporary. It is the outcome of countless adjustments that have already taken place. The universe has had time to settle into forms that do not strain against themselves. This settling continues. As time passes, more systems reach balance, more extremes soften. The universe grows increasingly steady. What remains is a cosmos that changes without agitation, guided quietly by the tendency of all things to find equilibrium and stay there. Across a human lifetime, the night sky appears almost unchanged. The same stars rise and set. The same constellations return with the seasons. This apparent permanence has a powerful effect on how the universe feels. When the environment remains consistent over time, the mind interprets it as stable. Stability feels calm. In reality, nothing in the universe is completely still. Stars move, galaxies drift, space itself expands, but these changes occur so slowly that they slip beneath notice. A star's position shifts by a tiny amount over thousands of years. A galaxy's shape evolves over spans far longer than recorded history. The universe changes, but it does so quietly, without crossing the threshold of attention. This slow change creates continuity. When patterns repeat reliably, they stop demanding focus. The sky becomes familiar rather than alerting. Familiarity reduces tension. The universe does not surprise the observer from night to night. It reassures through repetition. Human memory reinforces this effect. We compare what we see now with what we remember from before. When the difference is negligible, we conclude that nothing has changed. The universe feels dependable because its pace of change lies beyond personal memory. What cannot be remembered as different is experienced as constant. There is also a cultural dimension. For thousands of years, people have looked up at the same stars. Generations have shared the same sky. This continuity strengthens the impression that the universe is enduring and steady. Calm becomes part of the inherited experience of looking outward. Predictability plays a central role here. The motion of the stars follows precise patterns. The sun rises and sets reliably. seasons return on schedule. These cycles are governed by stable physical laws. When outcomes can be anticipated, anxiety fades. The universe feels safe because it behaves consistently. Even unexpected changes in the sky tend to be subtle. A new star appears faintly. A comet moves slowly across weeks. Rare events do not dominate experience. They are framed by a background that remains unchanged. Calm absorbs novelty. The slow pace of celestial change also allows observation without urgency. There is time to look, time to notice. Nothing forces immediate reaction. The sky invites contemplation rather than vigilance. Calm emerges naturally when attention is not pressured. This steadiness is not accidental. It reflects the balance of forces that govern motion on large scales. Orbits are stable, rotations are regular, perturbations are small. The universe does not constantly rearrange itself. It preserves patterns once they are established. The fact that the sky looks the same tonight as it did years ago is a direct consequence of cosmic timescales. Changes are real, but they are spread across durations that dwarf human experience. The universe does not rush through its transformations. It allows them to unfold slowly. This slow unfolding has a calming psychological effect. The mind relaxes when it does not need to track rapid change. The sky becomes a backdrop rather than a source of stimulation. Calm becomes the default response. When people describe the universe as peaceful, they are often responding to this visual stability. The absence of visible change signals safety and continuity. The universe feels settled because, from the perspective of a single lifetime, it truly is. This does not mean the universe is static. It means that its motion respects scale. What changes quickly does so locally. What changes globally does so slowly. The balance between these two ensures that the overall impression remains steady. The calm of the universe is reinforced every time the same stars return to the same places in the sky. Repetition builds trust. Trust allows rest. The universe feels calm because it presents itself as something that will still be there, unchanged, when attention returns. In this way, the night sky becomes a quiet reminder of endurance. It does not demand engagement. It offers presence. And presence, sustained over time without disruption, is one of the strongest sources of calm. Time does more than allow change. It actively smooths it. Given enough time, sharp edges fade, extremes soften, and irregular motion becomes predictable. This quiet, smoothing effect is one of the deepest reasons the universe feels calm. What begins as intensity rarely remains so. Time turns disruption into continuity. In physical systems, sudden differences drive rapid change. Large contrasts in temperature, pressure, or density create motion. Energy flows from where it is concentrated to where it is not. As these differences decrease, the forces driving change weaken. Motion slows. Systems settle. Time allows this process to complete. In the universe, time is abundant. There is no urgency to resolve imbalance quickly. A region that is slightly hotter or denser can take millions of years to equalize. During that time, energy moves gently rather than explosively. The universe rarely needs to correct itself abruptly. It has the luxury of patience. This patience changes how events are experienced. A dramatic beginning may lead to a long, quiet aftermath. A violent interaction may be followed by billions of years of stability. What dominates memory is not the moment of intensity, but the long period that follows. Calm occupies more time than disruption. Time also allows systems to find configurations that work. Unstable arrangements tend to change quickly. Stable ones persist. Over long durations, the universe becomes populated primarily by what can endure. What endures is usually calm. This filtering effect ensures that steadiness becomes more common with age. There is also the averaging effect of time. Small fluctuations cancel out when observed over long periods. Variations that seem important moment to moment lose significance when spread across vast durations. The universe feels calm because its behavior, averaged over time, is smooth and consistent. This smoothing applies to motion as well. Early, irregular paths evolve into repeated orbits. Turbulence fades into steady flow. randomness gives way to pattern. Time does not eliminate motion, it organizes it. Human experience rarely extends far enough to witness this transformation directly, but the results are visible everywhere. The stability of stars, the regularity of galaxies, the predictability of cosmic cycles, all reflect time having already done its work. The universe we see is the result of long refinement. Time also reduces urgency by separating cause and effect. When consequences unfold slowly, they do not provoke immediate response. The universe does not present itself as something that demands action. It invites observation instead. Calm arises when reaction is unnecessary. There is a psychological mirror here. Environments that change slowly feel safe. Rapid change signals danger. The universe changes slowly, not because it is inactive, but because it operates on scales where time has room to smooth everything. The mind responds accordingly. Importantly, time does not erase complexity. It preserves it by preventing constant upheaval. Stable environments allow structure to accumulate rather than reset. Calm supports richness by giving systems the opportunity to develop and persist. The longer the universe exists, the more pronounced this smoothing becomes. Extremes become rarer, change becomes gentler, patterns dominate. The universe grows quieter not by stopping, but by refining itself. Time is therefore not just a backdrop. It is an active participant in creating calm. It stretches events until they lose sharpness. It allows systems to settle without pressure. It favors continuity over interruption. The universe feels calm because it has been shaped by immense time. What we observe is not raw motion, but motion that has already been tempered. The cosmos we experience is the product of patience on a scale beyond imagination, and that patience has given it its steady, composed character. There is a limit to how much of the universe can interact, and this limit contributes quietly to the sense of calm. Space is not only vast, it is divided by horizons. Beyond certain distances, regions of the universe can no longer influence one another, no matter how much time passes. This natural separation reduces disturbance and reinforces stability. Because light travels at a finite speed and space continues to expand, there are parts of the universe whose signals will never reach us. Their events unfold without ever affecting our region. Likewise, what happens here will never reach them. The universe is not a single, tightly connected system. It is a collection of regions evolving largely on their own. This separation has a calming effect. If every event everywhere could influence everything else, activity would accumulate, signals would overlap, disturbance would propagate endlessly. Instead, interaction is limited. Influence fades with distance and eventually stops altogether. Calm emerges because the universe does not allow unlimited reach. These horizons are not walls or barriers, they are the result of geometry and motion. Space expands, light moves at a fixed speed. Over time, distances grow faster than signals can cross them. Regions slip beyond one another's reach quietly, without disruption. The universe becomes more compartmentalized as it ages. This compartmentalization reduces complexity at any given location. Each region responds primarily to its own conditions rather than to constant external influence. Stability becomes easier to maintain when fewer factors are involved. Calm is supported by isolation. There is also a temporal aspect. Events beyond the horizon are not just distant in space, they are unreachable in time. No future development will change that. This removes the idea of impending disturbance. The universe does not hide unknown threats waiting to arrive. Many things are simply forever out of range. This knowledge alters perception. When influence is limited, attention relaxes. There is no expectation of sudden, distant impact. The universe feels settled because its structure prevents constant interference. Even within reachable regions, horizons shape interaction. Gravitational influence weakens with distance. Radiation fades, signals spread out. The universe enforces locality. What happens nearby matters more than what happens far away. Calm is preserved because relevance is limited. Horizons also mean that the universe cannot coordinate itself instantly. There is no global synchronization. No single event can dominate everywhere. Each region follows its own timeline. This independence prevents cascading instability. As expansion continues, these horizons become more significant. More regions drift beyond mutual influence. The universe becomes quieter not because activity ceases, but because activity becomes increasingly isolated. Calm deepens through separation. This does not imply loneliness or emptiness. It implies balance. The universe organizes itself into zones of influence that are just large enough to support structure, but small enough to avoid constant disturbance. From a human perspective, this contributes to the feeling that the universe is not pressing in on us. It does not surround us with simultaneous events. It allows space for observation without overload. Calm arises naturally when the world is not demanding attention from every direction. The existence of horizons shows that calm is not accidental. It is built into how space and time interact. The universe limits itself. It prevents infinite reach. It ensures that what happens far away remains far away. This self-limiting structure allows the universe to remain composed even as it grows. Expansion increases distance. Horizons increase separation. Influence becomes more localized. The overall effect is a cosmos that feels quiet, stable, and unhurried. The universe feels calm because it knows how to keep things apart. Not by force, but by geometry. Not by silence alone, but by separation that grows gently with time. Calm in the universe does not come from the absence of energy. It comes from how widely that energy is spread. When energy is concentrated, it creates motion, pressure, and rapid change. When energy is distributed thinly across vast space, it becomes gentle. The universe feels calm because most of its energy exists in this diluted form. In dense environments, even small amounts of energy can have dramatic effects. Heat builds quickly, pressure rises, motion accelerates. In space, energy rarely has the opportunity to concentrate for long. Expansion, distance, and emptiness ensure that energy disperses outward instead of piling up. What remains is influence without force. This spreading of energy happens continuously. Radiation moves outward in all directions. Particles drift apart. Fields extend smoothly across space. Each process reduces contrast. As differences fade, so does urgency. The universe does not eliminate energy, it softens it. There is an important distinction here. Calm is not stillness. Energy continues to move. Light travels. Particles interact. Gravity shapes motion. But because energy is spread so thinly, these activities rarely overwhelm one another. They coexist without conflict. The universe remains active without becoming agitated. This is why cosmic energy does not feel threatening. Even powerful radiation arriving at Earth usually carries very little energy per unit area. It arrives quietly, often unnoticed. Instruments must be sensitive to detect it. Human experience remains undisturbed. Calm persists because energy arrives gently. The distribution of energy also prevents runaway processes. Concentration is required for feedback loops and escalation. When energy is thinly spread, feedback weakens. Processes slow down rather than accelerate. The universe avoids constant amplification by refusing to concentrate energy globally. Time reinforces this effect. As energy spreads, it has less capacity to drive rapid change. The universe becomes increasingly dominated by slow processes. Calm deepens not because motion stops, but because motion becomes subtle. There is also a perceptual consequence. Humans respond strongly to localized intensity, bright lights, loud sounds, sudden heat. When energy is evenly distributed, the senses register little. The universe presents itself as a smooth background rather than a series of sharp events. Calm emerges naturally from uniformity. Even the most energetic regions of the universe occupy a tiny fraction of its volume. The vast majority of space contains energy at extremely low density. This imbalance ensures that calm dominates experience. Activity exists, but it is isolated and brief compared to the background. Spread out energy also supports stability. Systems that are not constantly bombarded can persist. Structures remain intact. Patterns endure. Calm provides the conditions under which complexity can last. This does not mean the universe lacks excitement. It means excitement is local. It flares and fades without overwhelming the whole. The universe allows intensity to exist, but only in small pockets, surrounded by vast regions of quiet. When thinking about why the universe feels calm, it helps to imagine energy stretched across unimaginable distances. The same power that once existed in compressed form now fills space evenly. What was once intense has become gentle through scale. Calm, then, is not emptiness. It is abundance without concentration. It is motion without pressure. It is energy given enough room to exist without forcing change. The universe feels calm because it has learned how to hold enormous energy without tension. By spreading that energy thinly across space and time, it allows activity to continue without disturbance. Calm is not a pause. It is the natural state of energy when it has room to breathe. As the universe expands, it also cools. This cooling is slow, steady, and unavoidable, and it plays a quiet role in shaping the calm that dominates cosmic experience. Cooling does not mean the universe becomes inactive. It means that energy loses the intensity required to drive rapid or violent change. In the early universe, temperatures were extremely high. Particles collided constantly, energy exchanged rapidly. As space expanded, that same energy was spread across a larger volume. With more room available, average temperatures fell, motion slowed, interactions became less frequent. The universe did not switch suddenly from hot to cold. It drifted gradually toward lower intensity. Cooling reduces urgency. When temperatures are high, systems are restless. Particles move quickly. Reactions occur often. When temperatures drop, motion becomes more restrained. Change still happens, but it happens patiently. The universe transitions from agitation to steadiness without any sharp boundary between the two. This cooling affects every aspect of cosmic behavior. Radiation weakens, matter settles, pressure differences soften, forces that once drove rapid transformation lose strength. The universe does not need to expend energy calming itself. Cooling accomplishes this naturally by reducing the energy available for disruption. Cooling also stabilizes structures. At lower temperatures, matter can remain bound more easily. Atoms form, molecules persist, large systems maintain coherence. Calm supports structure by allowing it to endure rather than constantly react. There is also an important temporal effect. Cooling slows processes down. Reactions that might occur quickly in a hotter universe take much longer. The pace of change stretches out. The universe does not feel rushed because nothing is happening at a speed that demands immediate response. Cooling works in partnership with expansion. As space grows, energy density drops. Lower density means fewer interactions. Fewer interactions mean less disturbance. Together, these processes guide the universe toward a quieter state without eliminating activity. Importantly, cooling does not remove energy entirely. Energy remains, but it is less capable of driving dramatic change. The universe becomes more subtle in how it evolves. Motion continues, structure persists, but everything unfolds gently. This gentle unfolding shapes perception. Environments that are cool and stable feel safe. They do not challenge awareness with extremes. The universe presents itself as a place where change is possible without being aggressive. Calm becomes the dominant experience. Cooling also reduces contrast. Sharp differences in temperature drive motion. When temperatures even out, movement slows. The universe becomes smoother. Calm emerges from uniformity rather than stillness. As time passes, cooling continues. The universe today is cooler than it was in the distant past, and it will continue to cool further. Each stage of cooling reduces the likelihood of extreme events. Calm deepens as energy loses its edge. This progression is not a failure or decay. It is a natural outcome of physical law. The universe is not running down abruptly, it is settling gracefully. What remains is a cosmos that evolves without urgency, guided by processes that favor patience. The feeling of calm that comes from contemplating space is closely tied to this cooling. The universe does not blaze or roar. It glows faintly. It moves quietly. Cooling has transformed intensity into continuity. In this way, cooling becomes one of the final refinements of cosmic calm. It ensures that even as the universe continues to change, it does so without sharpness or strain. The universe feels calm because it has had time to cool into itself, allowing energy to persist without pressure and motion to continue without unrest. Calm is not just a background condition of the universe, it is a requirement for structure, and without it, complexity would not last. Stars, planets, chemistry, and eventually life depend on long periods without disruption. The universe feels calm because calm is what allows anything lasting to exist at all. Structure requires time. Matter must gather gradually. Bonds must form and remain intact. If the universe were dominated by constant upheaval, nothing would persist long enough to become complex. Frequent collisions would break structures apart. Intense radiation would strip matter of stability. Calm provides the interval needed for organization to emerge. Stars are a clear example. Their long, steady lives allow planetary systems to form and remain stable. Planets need billions of years of predictable conditions to cool, differentiate, and develop environments where chemistry can proceed. Sudden changes would erase progress. Calm protects continuity. On planets, calm becomes even more important. Chemistry relies on stability. Molecules form and react within narrow ranges of temperature and pressure. Life in particular requires environments that do not reset constantly. The universe's overall calm creates rare pockets where such conditions can exist and persist. This does not mean activity is absent. Activity happens within calm, not instead of it. Weather systems move. Geological processes reshape surfaces. Biological systems evolve. But these processes unfold within boundaries that prevent runaway disruption. Calm sets the limits within which change can occur safely. The universe supports this by spacing out its most energetic events. Regions capable of sustaining structure tend to be far from frequent explosions, intense radiation, or dense collisions. Calm is not evenly distributed, but where it exists, it allows complexity to deepen. There is also a filtering effect across cosmic history. Structures that form in calm conditions tend to last. Those that form in unstable regions are more likely to be destroyed. Over time, the universe becomes increasingly characterized by what can endure. Endurance favors calm. This makes calm feel intentional, even though it is not. Physical laws do not aim to create life or structure. They simply produce conditions where, if calm persists, complexity can arise. The universe feels calm because it must be, at least in some places, for anything intricate to exist. Calm also allows memory. Systems that are not constantly disrupted can carry information forward. Patterns repeat, history accumulates. Without calm, everything would reset. The universe would have no continuity. Calm makes history possible. From a human perspective, this connection between calm and existence is profound. The quiet nature of the cosmos is not indifferent, it is permissive. It allows observers to arise who can notice the calm itself. The universe does not just feel calm, it requires calm to be observable at all. As time continues, calm becomes even more important. Energetic events grow rarer, stable systems dominate. The universe increasingly favors long-lasting configurations over short-lived extremes. Calm is not replaced by chaos. It becomes the defining condition. The universe feels calm because calm is what survives. Everything enduring rests upon it. Structures that last do so because they are protected by long intervals of stability. Complexity does not fight against calm, it depends on it. In this way, calm is not a passive background, it is an enabling condition. It allows matter to organize, patterns to persist, and awareness to emerge. The universe feels calm because calm is the quiet foundation on which everything else stands. Violence in the universe stands out precisely because calm is the default. Explosions, collisions, and sudden releases of energy draw attention because they interrupt long stretches of quiet continuity. They feel dramatic not because they dominate cosmic history, but because they are rare against an overwhelmingly steady background. When something unusual happens, the contrast is immediate. A star suddenly brightens. A galaxy emits an intense burst of radiation. A collision reshapes a region of space. These events feel powerful because they differ sharply from the surrounding calm. Without that calm, they would not feel exceptional at all. Most of the universe does not experience constant disruption. Long periods pass without significant change. Structures persist. Motion repeats. When violence does occur, it occupies a small region and a brief moment relative to cosmic scales. Time quickly absorbs the disturbance. Space dilutes its effects. Calm returns. This contrast shapes understanding. Humans remember dramatic events because they break expectation. The universe, however, spends most of its existence in states that do not demand memory. Calm fades into the background, while disruption becomes noteworthy. This can create the impression that violence is more common than it actually is. In reality, dramatic events often serve specific roles rather than ongoing states. A supernova redistributes elements. A collision reshapes structure. Once that role is fulfilled, the universe settles back into equilibrium. Violence is a tool, not a condition. The rarity of violent events also reflects how difficult they are to produce. They require precise alignment, concentration of matter, and specific conditions. As the universe expands and cools, these conditions become harder to achieve. Calm becomes increasingly dominant with time. Violence also tends to be self-limiting. Energetic events consume or disperse the very conditions that allowed them to occur. Afterward, the environment is less capable of repeating the same intensity. The universe does not sustain constant upheaval. It resolves it. There is a perceptual effect as well. Calm allows attention to rest. Violence forces attention outward. When the universe is observed from afar, most events arrive already softened. Only their outlines remain. What reaches awareness is not chaos, but the memory of it, filtered through distance and time. This filtering reinforces calm. The universe does not overwhelm observers with simultaneous extremes. It presents change selectively. Rare moments of intensity punctuate a continuous backdrop of stability. Calm frames violence, rather than competing with it. Understanding this reverses the usual assumption. Calm is not what remains when violence ends. Violence is what briefly appears within calm. The universe is not a place of constant turmoil interrupted by peace. It is a place of peace briefly interrupted by turmoil. This perspective helps explain why looking into space often feels reassuring rather than threatening. The mind senses the dominance of stability. It recognizes that disruption is contained, temporary, and resolved by broader forces. Calm feels reliable because it is. As the universe continues to age, this pattern strengthens. Violent events become even rarer. Calm occupies more of time and space. The contrast grows sharper, but the balance remains firmly in favor of steadiness. The universe feels calm because calm is what defines it. Violence does not undermine that calm. It highlights it, reminding observers how rare disruption truly is in a cosmos shaped by scale, distance, and time. Looking ahead, the universe is expected to become even quieter than it is now. The same processes that created today's calm continue to operate, steadily shaping a future defined by increasing distance, fading energy, and longer intervals between change. Nothing dramatic is required for this to happen. Calm deepens simply because the universe keeps doing what it has always done. Expansion continues. Galaxies move farther apart. Regions that once influenced one another slip beyond reach. As separation increases, interaction decreases. Encounters become rarer. Large-scale events grow more isolated. The universe does not collapse inward or become more crowded. It grows more spacious. Energy continues to spread. Radiation weakens. Temperatures fall. The background of space becomes even smoother. Differences that once drove motion diminish further. The universe does not lose its energy, but that energy becomes less capable of creating sharp change. Motion persists, but it becomes increasingly gentle. Star formation slows over time. Gas supplies are used gradually. Fewer new stars ignite. Existing stars age quietly. Many end not in dramatic explosions, but in long, dim phases of fading. Light becomes softer. Activity becomes more subdued. The universe does not shut down. It settles. Galaxies themselves remain, but they evolve slowly. Their internal motion continues, yet large transformations become uncommon. Clusters grow quieter. The overall structure remains, but its pace slows further. Calm stretches across longer and longer spans of time. This future calm is not emptiness or lifelessness. It is continuity without urgency. Processes continue, but they do so with diminishing intensity. Change does not stop. It becomes subtle enough that vast periods pass without noticeable difference. There is also an increasing sense of isolation. As horizons expand, more regions become permanently unreachable from one another. The universe becomes a collection of quiet islands, each evolving on its own. Without constant exchange, each region grows more settled. From a human perspective, this future is almost impossible to experience directly. The timescales involved extend far beyond imagination. Yet the direction is clear. The universe does not become more frantic with age. It becomes more composed. This trajectory reinforces the idea that calm is not temporary. It is the long-term outcome of expansion, energy conservation, and time. The universe is not moving toward chaos. It is moving towards stillness without stopping. Importantly, this stillness does not erase what came before. The universe carries its history forward quietly. Structures persist, motion continues, but everything unfolds with increasing patience. The future universe will not announce its changes. It will not surprise observers with sudden shifts. Calm will dominate not because activity has ended, but because activity no longer needs to rush. In this sense, the universe is aging gracefully. It is not burning out violently. It is cooling, spacing itself out, and allowing everything to continue at a pace that requires no urgency. Calm becomes deeper, broader, and more enduring. The universe feels calm today because it is already well along this path. What we experience now is not an early stage of quiet, but a mature one. The future simply extends what already exists. Calm is not a phase the universe passes through. It is the direction in which it moves. All of the reasons explored so far point to the same conclusion. The universe feels calm because calm is what naturally emerges when space is vast, time is deep, and energy is allowed to spread. Nothing needs to be added to create this calm. It arises on its own from the basic structure of reality. The universe is not quiet because it lacks activity. It is quiet because activity is distributed. Energy moves, but it does not pile up. Motion continues, but it does not collide constantly. Change unfolds, but it does so slowly enough to avoid urgency. Calm is the outcome of processes having room to complete themselves. Distance ensures that events remain local. Time ensures that extremes soften. Expansion ensures that interactions grow rarer. Balance ensures that systems settle rather than unravel. Each of these factors reinforces the others. Together, they create a universe that is active without being agitated. The calm of the universe is not fragile. It does not depend on precise conditions being maintained moment by moment. It is robust because it is built into scale itself. As long as space remains large and time continues forward, calm will persist. Even dramatic events cannot overwhelm it. They flare briefly and fade into the background. This calm also allows perspective. The universe does not confront observers with constant demand. It offers distance instead of pressure. It allows awareness without alarm. The mind can rest because nothing insists on immediate response. When people describe the universe as peaceful, they are responding to something real. They are sensing the outcome of physical laws acting over immense spans of space and time. The calm is not emotional. It is structural. It reflects how the universe manages energy, motion, and change. There is a quiet reassurance in this. The universe is not rushing toward collapse or chaos. It is not straining against itself. It is expanding, cooling, and settling, allowing everything within it to exist without constant disruption. Calm is not the absence of history, it is the result of having one. This does not mean the universe is static or finished. Change continues, motion persists, new structures form while others fade. But everything happens within a framework that favors steadiness. The universe evolves without urgency. The calm you feel when contemplating space is not something imposed by imagination. It is a reflection of how the universe behaves when given enough room and enough time. Power exists, but it is restrained by scale. Activity continues, but it is softened by distance. As attention rests on this vast, patient system, there is no need to follow every motion or anticipate every change. The universe does not require vigilance, it invites quiet observation. And in that quiet observation, the reason becomes clear. The universe feels calm because calm is its natural state once everything has space to be itself. We from Sleepy Stories wish you a good night.